My parents took out a second mortgage to bankroll my brother's genius startup, then insisted he propose at my wedding because he's special. That's when I cut them off. Can you imagine planning your wedding, a day meant to celebrate love and commitment, only to discover your parents and brother are orchestrating a humiliating public proposal for your brother during your reception speeches? Why should your kids get birthday gifts? My aunt sneered, clutching the presents like they were gold. You adopted them from who knows where, my mom added, laughing, it's not the same. But what they didn't know was that just 2 hours earlier, Forbes had published a list, and my daughter's name was on it, as the inheritor of $6.7 million. And I was the executive of that fortune. My family thought they'd cut my children down. Instead, they signed their own eviction notice from my life. I'm Liam, 28. My twin sister, Nora, is also 28. Same birthday, same childhood, same role, backup models for the real son. Our older brother, Connor, is 31. The golden child, the special one. The reason our parents are drowning in debt they'll never escape. I'm a claims adjuster for a mid-size insurance company. Nora works as a vet tech. Connor? He's professionally unemployed, with a resume full of stories about why every job just wasn't the right fit. Growing up, Nora and I developed what we call the escape code. 3 words, ready to bail. One of us says it, we're both out the door within 60 seconds. No questions, no hesitation. We've used it at family dinners, holidays, birthdays, anywhere the favoritism got too thick to breathe. The pattern started early. When Nora and I turned 9, we each got a used board game from a garage sale. Connor, who turned 12 that same year, got a brand new motorized dirt bike. I asked Mom why. She said, he's the oldest. He needs bigger experiences. Nora cut in, that doesn't track. What experience comes with a motor we're not allowed to touch? Grandma Rita snapped, don't question your mother. Your brother has potential you two don't understand. Potential. That word followed Connor everywhere. A year later, I saved lawn mowing money for months to buy a model rocket kit. I spent 2 weeks building it. Connor thought it would be funny to light it off inside the garage. It exploded against the ceiling, destroyed itself, scorched the drywall. I ran to Mom crying. She sighed like I'd inconvenienced her. You should have put it somewhere safe. Connor was just curious. Nora stood up from her homework. He destroyed Liam's project on purpose. Make him replace it. Grandma Rita's face hardened. How dare you accuse your brother of malice? He's creative. Creative people make mistakes. Connor walked away. No punishment, no replacement, no apology. Nora and I got a lecture about being more understanding. That night, Nora knocked on my bedroom door and sat beside me on the floor. She didn't speak for a long time. Then she said quietly, we have each other. We were 10. When Connor was a senior and Nora and I were freshmen, things got worse. He brought home report cards with C's and D's. Mom celebrated like he'd won a scholarship, took us to dinner, told him how proud she was. 2 weeks later, Nora and I brought home straight A's. Mom glanced at them and said, that's expected from you too. You've always been the easy ones. The easy ones. The kids who didn't require attention, money, or praise. Connor got priority for the family car. Took it whole weekends. Returned it with dents and an empty tank. Once he came home with the bumper hanging off. Dad asked what happened. Connor said, parking lot thing, not my fault. Dad sighed and paid for repairs. Then one night, Connor came home past curfew, clearly buzzed, keys slipping in his hand. Dad smelled it immediately. You've been drinking and driving? Just a couple beers, Connor shrugged. I'm fine. Dad took the keys, but didn't ground him or report it. He only said, be more careful next time. The next morning, Mom asked, want waffles, sweetheart? Like nothing happened. 2 weeks later, Nora asked to borrow the car for a school event. Mom said, maybe next time. Your brother needs it more. That night, Nora whispered, he drives drunk and gets waffles. I ask politely and get denied. They're terrified of telling him no, I said. Or they just don't care what happens as long as Connor's happy. Connor's senior year is when everything truly collapsed. He was supposed to be the first in our family to attend a major university, state school, business program. Promise. Potential. Grandma Rita's favorite words. They threw him a huge going-away party. Relatives from 2 states over. Speeches about legacy. Meanwhile, Nora and I, freshmen, knew the truth. Money was tight. Dad's overtime had dried up. Mom was working doubles, but they acted like they had a limitless college fund. 3 months into Connor's freshman year, he came home for Thanksgiving with a revolutionary business idea. He showed us a napkin covered in arrows and boxes. Told us he and his roommate were launching an app that would change online food delivery forever. Dad asked, "How much do you need?" Connor said, $75,000. I almost choked. Nora's fork froze midair. Mom and Dad looked at each other, nodded, and Mom said, "We'll make it work. This is your future, honey." They took out a second mortgage, $75,000. The bank rep came to the kitchen table that Saturday. Mom's signature trembled. Dad didn't look up. I asked, "Are you sure about this?" Grandma Rita cut me down with a glare. "Your brother has vision. Stop being negative." Nora tried again. "You're betting the house on a napkin sketch. What if this doesn't work out?" "You two have always been jealous," Grandma snapped. "Connor is special. You're just worker bees." 2 years later, Connor dropped out. The app never launched. The roommate bailed. Connor blew through the investment money on clothes and nightclub tabs. He came home with half a degree and a closet full of designer trash. The mortgage payment jumped to $1,800 a month. The house deteriorated. Mom worked doubles. Dad let his truck fall apart. They were drowning. Connor moved back into his childhood room like none of it mattered. Slept until noon. Cycled through career ideas, real estate, crypto, sports betting, consulting. Each lasted about a week. One night, Dad pulled Nora and me aside. His hands shook as he slid over a stack of past due notices. "We're 4 months behind. The bank sent a foreclosure warning. We have 60 days. How much do you need?" I asked. $1,200 a month, just until we stabilize." We both knew Connor wouldn't help. Nora and I stepped outside. She whispered, "If we don't do this, they lose the house." So, we did it. $600 each, month after month. 3 years later, we'd paid $43,200. Connor? Maybe $5,000 total. We never got added to the deed. Never got a thank you. Some months, not even acknowledgement. I started keeping a ledger about a year into the payments. Simple spreadsheet, date, amount, confirmation number from the bank transfer. Nora did the same. We compared notes every few months. We also tracked Connor's contributions, or his lack thereof. Month 7, Connor bought a $1,500 gaming computer. Nora saw it being delivered. She texted me immediately with a photo. The same month, he told Dad he could only contribute $50 because money was tight. I saved that screenshot. Month 14, Connor took a weekend trip to Vegas with his buddies. Posted photos on social media of him and his friends holding expensive drinks at clubs. That month, his contribution was $0. When Dad asked him about it, Connor said he'd had the trip planned for months and couldn't back out. Nora took screenshots of those posts, too. Month 20, Connor started dating Fiona. She worked as a receptionist at a dentist's office. Too good for him, but somehow convinced he had potential. Connor started spending like he had a trust fund. New clothes, restaurants, concert tickets. I asked him once where the money was coming from when he was barely working 20 hours a week at a sporting goods store. He said, "Mom helps me out when I need it." I stared at him. "Mom's giving you spending money while Nora and I are covering $1,200 a month on the mortgage?" He shrugged. "She wants me to be happy. That's what family does." Fiona was there when he said it. She looked uncomfortable but didn't say anything. Just excused herself to the bathroom. I showed Nora the ledger that night. Her folder had photos of Connor's new sneakers, screenshots of his restaurant check-ins, evidence of a lifestyle funded by our parents while they begged us for mortgage money. Around month 30, I met Tessa. She worked as a graphic designer for a local marketing agency. Smart, direct, didn't tolerate nonsense. We met through mutual friends at a cookout. When I told her about the family situation, she didn't judge. She asked, "Are you okay with it?" I said, "Honestly, no, but I don't know how to stop without watching them lose everything." She said, "Maybe the person who should stop them from losing everything is the one who caused it." I sat with that for a minute. Then I asked her what she'd do. She said, "I'd walk away, but I'm not you. You have to figure out what you can live with." What stuck with me wasn't her answer. It was the fact that she didn't tell me what to do. She just made me think about whether I was doing this because it was right or because I was scared of what would happen if I stopped. A week later, she asked me if I'd thought about it more. I said, "Yeah, but I still don't have an answer." She said, "You're allowed to be stuck. Just don't let being stuck become permanent." By month 36, Tessa and I were engaged. I proposed at a park near her apartment. Nothing fancy, just us and a sunset. She said yes before I finished the question. When I told my parents, Mom smiled and said, "Congratulations, honey." Dad shook my hand. Grandma Rita said, "That's wonderful, dear." Then she immediately turned to Connor and said, "When are you going to make an honest woman out of Fiona?" Connor laughed nervously. "Working on it, Grandma." Just need the right moment. Nora pulled me aside in the kitchen. Did you catch how fast they made your engagement about him? I caught it. But there was one person who'd been watching all of this for years and finally decided to say something. Grandpa Joe. Grandpa Joe is Dad's father. Quiet guy, retired electrician, widowed about 10 years back. He'd remarried a few years ago and mostly stayed out of family drama. But he noticed things. He'd mentioned to me once during a holiday that the favoritism was getting ridiculous. I said, "You're not wrong." He said, "Your dad needs to grow a spine, and your grandmother needs to stop treating that boy like he's made of gold." Grandpa Joe didn't come to every family gathering, but when he did, he paid attention. About 2 months before the wedding, Nora and I were doing our usual twin check-in over coffee. We meet every Sunday morning at the same diner, same booth, same routine. It's where we decompress. She said, "I've got a bad feeling about the wedding. They're going to try something." I said, "They wouldn't. It's my wedding. Even they have limits." She gave me a look. "Liam, come on. When have they ever had limits with Connor?" She was right. We agreed to set up defenses. Nora would be point person for security and vendor coordination. Tessa would handle the rule sheet. We'd make it airtight. But first, we had to survive the family meeting. 6 weeks before the wedding, Mom texted both Nora and me. "Family meeting tonight, 7 p.m. It's important. Be there." Nora and I grabbed lunch beforehand. She stirred her iced tea and said, "This is it. This is the ask. What do you think they want? Money for something Connor related?" I asked. "Car repair? Rent? Maybe a loan?" We were wrong. It was worse. When we walked in, the living room looked staged, TV muted, lights low. Dad sat stiffly in his recliner. Grandma Rita perched on the couch, looking smug. Connor sprawled on the love seat like royalty. And Grandpa Joe sat in the corner, arms folded, looking genuinely puzzled. He almost never attended these ambush meetings. Mom stood with her arms crossed, eyes sharp. "Sit down," she said, voice sugar-coated and dangerous. Nora and I sat. We exchanged a look that said, "Brace yourself." Mom started with, "You know how much we want this wedding to be special for Liam and Tessa." "Just clarifying," I said. Connor smirked. Grandma leaned forward like a vulture about to land. Mom continued, "Since it's such a beautiful event, we thought maybe it could be about more than one couple. A chance for your brother to share in the joy." Grandma Rita jumped in. "Families should celebrate together. That's what makes events meaningful." Then Connor said it. "I want to propose to Fiona at your wedding. During the reception speeches, right after the best man speech. It'll be perfect. Everyone will already be celebrating love." I didn't laugh. I didn't blink. "No," I said. Mom's smile cracked. "Don't be like that. It's one moment. Connor just wants to celebrate, too." Nora cut in. "So Liam pays for everything, plans everything, and then hands over the mic so Connor can propose at someone else's wedding? It's not handing anything over." Grandma snapped. "It's sharing. Family shares." "Sharing?" Nora said flatly. "Would be Connor paying his fair share of the mortgage. This is hijacking." Connor bristled. "I don't have the money for a big proposal. This way, it's special without me going broke." That's when Grandpa Joe finally spoke, voice calm and edged like a blade. "Can I say something? I've been sitting here for 20 minutes, and this is the craziest thing I've ever heard. You're asking the groom to hand over his wedding day. You're calling him selfish while he's been paying your mortgage for 3 years. This favoritism has gone on since these kids were born." Grandma Rita flushed. "Joe, you don't understand. Connor is special." "He is," he finished. Yes. Heard it for decades. Doesn't make it true. And it doesn't make this reasonable." Mom tried to recover. "Dad, this isn't about favoritism. It's about supporting each other." Grandpa Joe turned to my father. "You going to say anything or just sit there while your wife tries to steal your son's wedding?" Dad swallowed hard. "I think we should all calm down." Nora stood. "Here's what's happening. You already told Connor this was basically approved. You set this up as pressure theater, and now you're mad it's not working." Mom didn't deny it. I stood up too. "The answer is no. Connor doesn't get to propose at my wedding. Not during speeches. Not during anything. Nowhere." Connor shut up. "So you're cutting me out over 1 minute? You don't need my wedding to look like a fool," I said. "You've been doing that fine on your own." Grandma Rita gasped. "How dare you speak to your brother like that?" Nora folded her arms. "If you'd held him accountable once in his life, he wouldn't need to hijack other people's events." Connor threw his hands up. "You're both just jealous." Nora laughed. "Of what?" A 31-year-old man living at home with no career, no savings, and a girlfriend he can't afford to propose to. I added. Since we're talking about family support, the $1,200 a month stops now. Today. Figure it out yourselves. Silence. Mom went pale. You can't do that. We need that money. You need it, I said. Because you spent $75,000 on a napkin sketch in a dream. You made your choice. This is mine. Grandma Rita's voice chilled. You'll regret this. Family comes first. Yeah, I said. My family, Tessa and me. The rest of you can live with your decisions. Nora stood, grabbed her purse, and said, ready to bail. We walked out. Grandpa Joe followed us into the driveway. I'm sorry you two have dealt with this your whole lives. Thanks for speaking up, I said. I should have done it years ago, he said. Don't back down. They're going to try everything before the wedding. Don't cave. We won't, Nora said. And we didn't. The next 2 weeks were psychological warfare. Mom called and texted nonstop. Guilt about the mortgage, dramatic stories about stress, vague warnings that we were destroying the family. By day 3, Nora and I blocked her. Grandma Rita switched tactics. She sent long, dramatic messages to extended family, painting us as heartless. A few cousins reached out, confused. Nora sent one of them a single line, ask Mom and Grandma how much Connor's paid toward the mortgage in 3 years. Then ask how much Liam and I have. Silence followed. Cousins, aunts, uncles. The truth did what it always does. Connor tried a different angle. He called Tessa. He asked her to talk sense into me. She said, if you call me again, I'll block you, too, and hung up. Later, she told me what happened. Hands still shaking. I asked if she was okay. Yeah, she said. But that was really uncomfortable. He made it sound like you were being unreasonable, and I was supposed to fix it. You don't have to deal with my family's nonsense, I said. I know, but I'm choosing to. That's different. Then Connor tried Nora. She put him on speaker. Connor, she said, if you show up at that wedding and try anything, security will remove you. You can't do that. I'm family. Family pays their share. You don't. So, right now, you're just a freeloader with an opinion. He hung up, but Mom made the real move. 10 days before the wedding, she called the venue, pretending to be me, and tried to add Connor to the approved speakers list. The coordinator asked for the password. Mom didn't have it. She got shut down immediately, and the coordinator called Tessa to confirm. Tessa added a note, no changes without password verification. Bride or groom only. When we heard, Nora just said, I knew they'd try something. After that, we tightened everything. Nora gave security photos of Connor and Grandma Rita with clear instructions, watch them. Don't storm the mic, stay ready. The layout was too open for constant guarding, and we didn't want a scene unless they forced one. Tessa sent a rules sheet to immediate family, no surprise speeches, no unplanned announcements, no exceptions. Dad replied with a plain, okay. Grandma Rita sent a thumbs down emoji. Connor didn't respond at all. That week, Nora did something I didn't expect. She pulled Fiona aside at a family gathering. I wasn't close enough to hear. But later, Tessa told me what happened. Nora told her, if he tries something public at the wedding and you're uncomfortable, you're allowed to say no. You're allowed to walk away. Don't feel trapped because people are watching. Fiona went pale. Has he said something to you? No, Nora said. I just know my brother. You deserve to know you have options. Fiona hesitated, then admitted, I told him I didn't want a public proposal. Multiple times. He keeps saying he'll do something private, but then talks about big romantic gestures. I don't know if he listens. Nora told her, then it sounds like you already know your answer. You just haven't said it yet. Tessa said Fiona looked like someone had handed her oxygen. The night before the wedding, Nora came to my place. Tessa was out with her bridesmaids, so it was just the two of us. Nora adjusted my boutonniere, even though I wouldn't wear it until the next day. You ready for this? She asked. For the wedding? Yeah. For the family drama? No, we've survived worse, she said. We'll survive this. I laughed. Remember when we were 10 and you said, we have each other? She smiled softly. Still true. We sat in quiet for a moment. Then she straightened up and said, if they try anything tomorrow, I'll handle it. You stay with Tessa. Don't let them pull you into their mess. Ready to bail if needed? I asked. Always, she said, and she meant it. Every word. The wedding was at an outdoor venue with a lake, string lights, and enough space for 100 guests. We'd kept it simple. Small ceremony, decent reception, good food, no drama. That was the plan. Tessa's side showed up on time, professional, respectful, normal. My side showed up looking for a fight. Grandma Rita wore a dress that looked like she was attending a royal gala. Connor showed up in a suit that fit him like a tarp, clearly borrowed. And Fiona looked like she wanted to disappear. Nora spotted them immediately and moved into position near the security guys stationed by the reception tent entrance. The ceremony was perfect. I got nervous halfway through my vows, and my voice cracked. Tessa squeezed my hands and smiled. For 25 minutes, Connor and Grandma Rita didn't exist. Then the reception started. The speeches went smoothly at first. Best man went first. Told a funny story about me falling asleep during a work training and waking up to everyone staring at me. Tessa's maid of honor went next, heartfelt and sweet. That's when I saw Connor stand up. He was at a table near the back. Fiona was grabbing his arm, trying to pull him back down. He shook her off and started moving toward the microphone. Nora signaled security, but Connor was closer to the mic than they were. He moved fast. I stayed next to Tessa and kept my hand on her shoulder. Connor grabbed the mic before security got there. "Everyone, I have something important to say." The crowd went quiet. I turned to him. I didn't yell. I didn't rush him. I just said, loud enough for everyone to hear, "Quick PSA, folks. This is not an open mic night. If you didn't pay for the venue, sit down." A few people laughed nervously. Most just sat frozen. Connor's face flushed, but he held the mic. "No, listen. This is important. Fiona, I love you." Fiona stood up so fast her chair scraped the floor. "Connor, stop right now." He froze. Her voice was shaking, but she didn't back down. "I told you I didn't want this. I told you not to make a scene, and you did it anyway." Guests started whispering. Connor's eyes darted around like he thought he could salvage it. "Babe, just let me finish." "No," Fiona said, louder. "I've told you for weeks I didn't want a public proposal, especially not at someone else's wedding. The answer is no. I'm done." Dead silence. A few people shifted in their seats. Someone coughed. Grandma Rita looked like she'd been slapped. Connor's face crumpled. He turned toward me as if this were somehow my fault. "You did this. You ruined everything." I kept my voice calm. "You ruined it when you tried to hijack someone else's wedding. Don't blame me because she saw through you." More whispers, more uncomfortable silence. Connor's humiliation spread through the venue, but nobody was clapping. It was just awkward and tense. Security reached him. Two guys in suits, calm but firm. "Sir, you need to leave." Connor tried to pull away. "Oh, you can't do this. I'm family." "Family knows better," I said. "Security, please escort him out." A few scattered claps came from Tessa's side. Most people just watched in silence as Connor got walked out. Fiona grabbed her purse and left through a different exit without looking back. But Grandma Rita wasn't done. She stood up, cane in hand, voice sharp enough to cut glass. "You selfish brat. You humiliated your brother in front of everyone. You're a disgrace to this family." I turned to her and said calmly, "Security. My grandmother needs help finding her ride." That got more reaction. A few people actually laughed. Even some from my side, who usually stayed silent, were shaking their heads. Grandma Rita sputtered, called me ungrateful, and stormed out. The rest of the reception was smooth. We danced. We ate. The best man made fun of my dance moves. Tessa finally relaxed. Nora leaned over at one point and whispered, "That was the cleanest shutdown I've ever seen." "We should have charged admission," I said. But as Tessa and I left the venue that night, she said, "Can I tell you something?" "Of course." She took a slow breath before speaking. I was terrified Connor was going to ruin the whole day. I kept waiting for something to go wrong, and I couldn't enjoy anything until it was over. "I'm sorry. You shouldn't have had to deal with that." She shook her head gently. "I'm not blaming you. I'm just saying this is what your family does. They turn every moment into something you have to brace for. They make you feel like you don't get to just be happy. Everything becomes about surviving it." She looked down at her hands, twisting her ring slightly, a gesture I'd never seen from her. "And I don't want to live like that," she said quietly. Something in my chest tightened. Not guilt. Realization. "Neither do I," I said. She nodded but didn't smile. She needed more than reassurance. She needed proof. "Good," she said softly. "Because I need to know we're building something different, something that isn't controlled by your family's chaos." "We are," I said. "I promise." And for the first time that day, she exhaled like she believed me, or at least wanted to. The week after the wedding, Connor spiraled. Fiona didn't just break up with him. She erased him, blocked him everywhere, and told mutual friends she felt like she was finally breathing again. Honestly, that tracked. Connor moved back into our parents' house full-time. Slept half the day, ranted online the rest, and got fired from his part-time job within a week. Same old pattern, except this time Nora and I weren't cleaning it up. We heard updates through cousins. We didn't reach out. Grandma Rita, meanwhile, went nuclear. She flooded family chats with messages claiming Nora and I had abandoned Connor in his darkest moment. Some relatives bought it. Most stayed quiet. A few reached out privately, but Nora shut it down. We don't owe anyone the story, she said. Not yet. Mom tried emotional guilt. She left Nora long voicemails about being overwhelmed, how the mortgage was falling behind again, how we were destroying the family. Nora saved the messages, then blocked her. Dad called me once, sounding decades older. Son, I understand why you did what you did. I should have spoken up years ago. Thanks, Dad, I said. But understanding isn't change. 3 weeks after the wedding, everything got worse. It was close to midnight. Tessa and I were in bed when Nora called. What's wrong? I asked. Mom just called me. Connor's in jail. Hit and run. He hurt someone. My stomach dropped. What? He was driving impaired, ran a red light, hit another car, panicked, and drove off. Cops found him hiding behind a gas station. How bad is it? A mom and her 6-year-old daughter. Broken leg, concussion. I closed my eyes. He hit a kid and ran? Yeah. And Mom wants us to help. Help how? Lawyer, bail, controlling the story? She's already telling people it was an accident. She wants us on a call in 10 minutes. Let me talk to Tessa. When I told her, she sat straight up. Liam, don't let them drag you into covering this up. I won't. I just want to hear what they try. Then don't let fear make your choices, she said. 10 minutes later, Nora and I joined the call. Mom didn't waste a second. We need your help. Connor made a terrible mistake, but we can fix this together. A mistake is locking your keys in the car, I said. He hit a child and ran. He panicked. Mom insisted. He knew how to run and hide, Nora snapped. He knew how not to call 911. Dad jumped in. Bail is $12,000. We don't have it. So, you want us to pay $12,000? I asked. No, just $1,200 with a bondsman, Mom said quickly. Then we need help with a real lawyer. You already have $1,200? I said. You've been hiding it for him? Silence. Dad said, what? You've been behind for months without asking us for more. You had money. You just weren't using it for the mortgage. Mom's voice tightened. We needed an emergency fund in case something happened. Something like this. Nora shot back. Mom said, we can't let him sit in jail. He's family. He chose to drive impaired. Nora said. He chose to hit someone. He chose to run. Dad tried. If we don't get him a good lawyer, this could ruin his future. Maybe it should, I said. Mom began crying. Please. If we use the emergency fund, we'll lose the house. We need you two to cover the mortgage again, just temporarily. Grandma Rita snapped in the background. How can you be so cold? A child is hurt, and all you care about is money. No, I said. I care that you're trying to protect the person who hurt her. Mom whispered, we need you to be the responsible ones, like always. No, Nora said. We're not paying for bail. We're not paying for a lawyer. We're not rewriting the story. We're done. Mom sounded stunned. What? Grandma Rita shrieked. You're abandoning him. He abandoned that little girl, I said. Mom sobbed. You're going to let him go to prison. You built this, I said. With the mortgage, the excuses, the decades of pretending he was untouchable. Dad said softly, just think about it. Sleep on it. No, Nora said. Don't call us again about this, I added. And if you try to use relatives to pressure us, we'll send them every document. Mom's voice dropped to a hiss. You're both dead to me. Okay, Nora said. We can live with that. After the call, I texted Nora. You okay? No, she replied. But we're right. Yeah, we are. 30 seconds later, Grandpa Joe called. Your mom wanted me to talk you into helping. He said, I told her absolutely not. A child is hurt. Connor needs to face this. That's what we said. Good. Don't bend. We won't. That night, I barely slept. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw a 6-year-old in a hospital bed because my brother thought rules didn't apply to him. Tessa wrapped her arms around me. You did the right thing, she whispered. I know. It just doesn't feel good. It's not supposed to, she murmured. Doing the right thing rarely does. And for the first time, the weight of my family's legacy shifted painfully, but finally off my shoulders. The next few weeks were chaos. Connor spent 3 days in jail before Mom and Dad used the emergency fund they'd been hiding to pay the bondsman. $1,200, just enough to bring him home on house arrest with an ankle monitor. The court process dragged on while the charges piled up. The little girl's family hired a lawyer, and everyone knew a civil suit was coming. Mom immediately launched into damage control. She sent messages to extended family, insisting Connor had panicked, that he'd made a terrible mistake, that Nora and I had abandoned him at his lowest point. She left out the parts that mattered, the 6-year-old with a broken leg, the concussion, the fact that Connor ran and hid instead of calling for help. Grandma Rita took up the banner, insisting Connor was being judged unfairly, calling Nora and me heartless. For about 2 days, they controlled the story. Then Nora sent the receipts. She didn't wait for anyone to ask questions. She sent a single message to every aunt, uncle, and cousin who'd been fed Mom's version. She attached the police report, our mortgage ledger from the last 3 years, and screenshots of Connor partying, eating out, and flashing new purchases while claiming he was too broke to contribute to the house. People responded fast. One cousin wrote, "I had no idea." Another said they'd been told it was just a fender bender. A third asked, "He ran from a kid?" Not everyone changed sides. 2 of Mom's sisters accused Nora of exaggerating. One said, "We were making our parents look bad." Another insisted family was supposed to protect each other. Grandma Rita doubled down, saying, "Connor never meant to hurt anyone." Then Grandpa Joe finally said something. He wrote, "He chose to drive. He chose to run. The little girl is the one suffering." After that, the whole discussion went quiet. The family didn't unite. They fractured. Some stayed loyal to Mom out of habit. Some stayed silent. A few cousins sent Nora and me private messages saying they supported us, but couldn't say so publicly. One uncle called me directly and sounded like he was hiding in his own house. He said he believed us but couldn't get involved because Grandma Rita would turn his life upside down. I told him I understood. Mom kept trying to build sympathy by calling distant relatives and old family friends. But the more details came out, the less her narrative held together. One aunt told her bluntly, "You taught him that rules don't apply to him." Mom hung up on her. Meanwhile, the mortgage fell further behind. Without the $1,200 Nora and I used to contribute, Mom and Dad couldn't keep up with payments and legal costs. For months after Connor's arrest, they put the house up for sale. Dad called me when the listing went live. His voice sounded like it had been wrung dry. "We're selling. We can't keep it." I told him I was sorry. He said he should have stopped everything years earlier. The second mortgage, the favoritism, the denial. He said he was too weak to stand up to Mom and Grandma Rita. I didn't know what to say, so I told him it wasn't too late to change. He said, "Maybe not," but the house was gone. 6 weeks later, it sold at a loss. They moved into a small rental across town, 2 bedrooms. Connor got one, they shared the other. Grandma Rita stopped speaking to us altogether. She moved in with her sister and sent a final message saying, "We destroyed the family." Nora told her, "We just stopped fixing what you broke." 8 months after the wedding, Connor took a plea deal. 18 months in county jail, probation, community service, restitution, long-term license suspension. Mom called Nora crying the day it happened, asking how they could do this to her boy. Nora told her the girl he hit could have died. Mom hung up. Life moved on for the rest of us. Tessa and I started saving for a house now that we weren't funneling money into someone else's mortgage. We went to open houses, talked about kids, talked about peace. Nora started cutting out any other obligations in her life that felt like they belonged to someone else. She told me ending the payments was the first moment she'd ever felt she wasn't living in a trap. We kept our Sunday diner meeting, same booth, same cheap coffee, same unspoken promise to leave anything that tried to pull us backward. About 10 months after the hit and run and roughly 2 months into Connor's sentence, Mom asked to meet with Nora and me. Nora said no immediately. I talked her into it, not out of hope, just curiosity. We met at a coffee shop downtown. Mom looked older, smaller, like the years had finally caught her. She sat down and took a long breath before saying anything. Then she said, "I was wrong." She admitted everything, enabling Connor, prioritizing him, taking out the mortgage, expecting us to clean up the mess, and blaming us when it all fell apart. Nora asked her why now. Mom said, "Because I lost everything. The house, my mother won't speak to me. Connor's in jail. Your father barely speaks to me. And you too, you're gone, too. I have nothing left." I asked her if she was apologizing because she meant it or because she was out of options. She said she didn't know, just that she knew she'd been wrong. Nora asked if she understood why we didn't help with Connor's case. Mom said she thought it was because we didn't want to enable him. Nora told her no, it was because a kid got hurt and Connor ran. Mom nodded and said she was trying to understand. I told her that if she wanted a relationship going forward, things had to change. No more money, no more guilt, no more excuses for Connor. And she had to acknowledge the damage she'd done. Mom said she would try. Nora told her trying wasn't enough. We left it there. No hugs, no dramatic reconciliation, just a possibility with conditions. A year after the wedding, Tessa and I closed on a house. 3 bedrooms, small yard, quiet street. We invited a few people over. Nora came. Grandpa Joe came. Dad came alone. Dad took me aside and told me he was proud of me. That he wished he'd protected us years ago. That he wished he'd told Connor no. I told him he was here now. And that counted for something. Later, Nora and I stood on the deck as the sun went down. She said, "We survived." I said, "Yeah, we did." Ready to bail? Always. Connor eventually got out of jail. He moved in with Grandma Rita at her sister's place. Last I heard, he was blaming us for everything. Telling anyone who'd listen that we'd ruined his life. His wages are garnished. His license is gone for years. He's stuck. I don't feel bad. Not after everything. Tessa and I are good. Nora is thriving. And the escape code still exists. Not as survival anymore, but as a reminder. We made it out, and we built something better. What do you think? Did Liam and Nora do the right thing by cutting off Connor and their parents? Or is family supposed to stick together, no matter what? Have you ever had to choose between protecting yourself and enabling destructive family behavior? Tell me what you think in the comments below.